What's up?
What's going on?
So I get back looking tight, slick again. Fake niggas jump back on my dick again. One of the greatest lines ever that I've heard from one of the greatest rappers ever. God rest his soul, DMX. Man, we
X,
lost a good one.
DMX, and it's interesting to see. Like, first, it was just interesting to see how many places X was. Like, this man
Yeah.
really lived like a life. Like,
Mhm.
he was really out. Like, DMX was at my wedding. DMX crashed my birthday party. DMX was at my grandma's funeral. Like, I mean, this man was like everywhere.
Freestyle for
So,
three hours. That's real, man. DMX, like, I mean, goodness, he had some of the greatest songs. He brought me through a lot. What was it, high school, man? I used to love jamming his music.
yeah.
Um, One of the funny things is, man, you know how real we are. He passed on in revisionist history. Whew. The first three albums, the first two albums, fire. The third album, now I was listening to another podcast that shall not be named. With another rapper. You know where I'm going. Let's talk about the Great Depression and Grand Champ. Those are good albums. I was like, no,
Nah,
no, don't do
nah.
this.
Because you know what? Here's the thing. His
Woo.
first two albums are so
Classic.
good that
Yeah.
I feel like everybody those first two albums gave him so much cachet in the game that people are just like, dog, I just want to see it happen again.
Yeah.
Like I just want to see like one more time want to have a full album. Like I forget like What's My Name was on that third album, and I was
Yeah.
like, that's
That was the lead single. The
about
third album is iffy.
that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
about the only song I like on there. But
No,
there,
there's a few.
there were a couple. But then you're feeling like you're hearing other people now. It's like, yo, this is the stuff he was working on. But you know how I feel about posthumous albums. Like they could go any way. Like everybody ain't got a life after death in their pocket. Like I don't care if that album was basically done.
Yeah,
Like
that album was
it's
done.
like that album was done.
Basically, it was done. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause Born Again and Duets sounds like he had no involvement. Like it sounds like you're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's the Biggie duets. You're
Yeah.
like,
Biggie Duets is terrible. Born Again,
okay.
there's like the song with Cash Money, Dead Wrong. I hope you niggas sleep. Man, I hope, oh my goodness.
Here's my thing about, and this is how I knew Puff was lying. Because I would be on
I
Memphis
know where
Twitter.
you're going with this.
I was saying, he goes, die. This is like between Ready to Die and Life After Death. He was like, I gotta tone Biggie down. Like, he got a song that he like breaks into a house and like kills everybody. He raping babies and all this other kind of stuff. But that ain't never gonna see the light of day. And I was like, oh, so Biggie got songs stacked up like Tupac.
Yeah.
And then Dead Wrong came out.
Hey,
I was
man.
like, Diddy ain't got no more Diddy. He ain't got no more Biggie tracks.
Yeah, that was it. The second verse.
I said, this the first single? Like,
the second verse was like, I remember listening on the radio, slip up little sis after she with the.
I was like, yo.
From the back, but Smalls don't get down like that. And I was like, what?
I was like, wow. I said, this is real wild. And I feel like y'all are letting this go under the radar because this is a posthumous album. But I said, I remember reading Diddy say, this ain't never coming out. So I know for a fact you ain't
got that. Blaze? No,
it might have been in Blaze. It might have been in Blaze.
That failed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got both you and I have every single issue of that. That's
Blaze. I thought Blaze was fire.
That was the one that Lil Wayne. One of the greatest Lil Wayne interviews was in like the second or third episode. I mean, rendition. I mean, sticking with Biggie, that's kind of funny that we talked about Biggie because Black and Ugly as ever, I stay Houston down to my socks. Welcome to another episode of In My Humble Opinion podcast. You guys know who we are if you came here by now. I'm Avery, like a very nice guy, also known as Avery Zadius. Why? Because you can call me Zaddy for short. Duh. It's a joke. Okay. Also here with my brother, Just Devon, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause. He's gonna.
No, it took me a second. Oh wait, what am I doing?
You didn't record?
There I am. I'm good. I'm recording. I just accidentally switched to the wrong camera because,
oh, that's crazy.
like I said, we're not a professional organization.
We're not. No, we are, Devon. What are you talking about?
We're okay. You know what I'm saying?
There's people over here that are doing the stuff. They're making the merch. They're making all the stuff, you know. But
we do have merch coming.
We do have merch coming. So yes, like I said before, I'm sorry, I might not have covered this. You can find me at Avery Zadius on all socials, especially Twitter, which is the greatest one, Instagram, and also you could find my brother Jess Devon on Twitter as. Wait, which one are you on Twitter? You're still you're Just Devon on Twitter.
Just Devon on Twitter.
You're Just Devon on Twitter, and you're Dr. Douglas.
Dr. Douglas on Instagram.
Because when Derek tagged us in a photo on Twitter, it still had Dr. Douglas. I was like, yeah, you gotta.
Oh wow, it is what it is. That's our marketing problem. Like we gotta.
We did with the marketing.
Work that out.
What's your name? Biff? You're fired. All right.
I said Biff.
I didn't want to say like Corey or something, Anyway, you can find us both at My Humble on all socials. That's In My Humble Opinion podcast. All right. And don't forget about the streams, man. You can stream us on everything where you find. Actually, you can stream us on any digital platform and also on YouTube so you can see my ugly mug all the time. Okay. So let's get to it. I want to get through this one because I want to get to our artist. He's the man of the hour. He's the playlist prince. He's a dot connector. He's a Twitter aficionado. Honestly, really, I get on Twitter to see him. He's a social media guru, husband. He's also a shoe game god, even though me personally, I think the 11s are trash, but anyway. And a rap beast, really freestyles. Man said, right back at you like Apple, I Mac you. I really like that. He's Mo City's own, not Missouri City, Mo City's own. With loyalty over love streaming in your phone right now, amongst other projects, J. Von till the day is done. OG Vonzilla. What's up? You muted, my guy.
Oh, you gotta unmute yourself. There we go. There we go. He's here. He's with us. We doing everything
my
good.
Bad.
No, it's all right. It's all good. It's all good.
My bad. I ain't even know I was over here muting and shit. Luckily, I hadn't really said too much. You know what I'm saying? I literally was just, you know what I'm saying, thanking him, you know what I'm saying, for such praise, man. I don't get a lot of that, so I appreciate it.
No, that's good. That's good, man. We appreciate you coming out, representing Mo City. How's that?
You know what? I thank him so much for, you know what I'm saying, making it known that that's different. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm from the Mo and not Missouri City. I'm glad that he knew.
We know the difference because we're from Sugarland.
For the audience, though. For the audience, you
don't do that. Don't do that.
No, please don't. We share a street at certain points.
Yeah, we own it. Okay? I'm owning it out here. You know how many dudes from Sugarland? Oh, and I'll be like, no, you're not. You're from down the street. You grew up down the street from me.
Yeah.
Your mom, is a dean of a college. Calm down, bro.
But I always be like, Doug, we took the same bus. Mm-hmm. I was like, Doug, the bus just made a right. Like we rode to school together.
Yeah, so that's why I could separate.
There's just there's some subtle differences. That's all.
Explain for the people what the subtle differences are, because a lot of people, if depending on the fan that you are, Mo City from Travis Scott or Zero.
Yeah. Okay.
So for people that don't know, explain what Mo City is.
Yeah.
I mean, Mo City is Broadgate, South Post Stoke, 2234, you know what I'm saying? Those areas versus Laco, Highway 6, you know what I mean? Sienna, you know what I mean? It's just subtle, subtle differences. We don't really have too many gated communities in the Mo, you know, versus in Missouri City, they all over. You know, it's a beautiful thing. And I just want to be the first to dispel this. I gotta just put it out there. As a Black person, we do have to stop running in the struggle Olympics. You know, for years we've
Let's
put a
talk
lot
about
of
it.
yeah, we've put a lot of weight on being the have-nots and stuff like that. And honestly, as a person in the mode, the goal was always to do good enough in your situation to where you could be in Quail Valley and some of these other places that are considered Missouri City. So, you know what I mean? We got to stop putting so much weight on the fact that we didn't have grass or some stupid shit like that. You know?
Thank you, sir. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't save it because some people in Sienna Plantation was about to be mad.
Oh man, they should be mad that plantation is still on the name, but I'll table that. You know what I'm saying?
The Sugarland getting the plantation names off on all of the neighborhoods is forever wild to me.
Oh, yeah. It's gonna happen. I say by the end of the year.
Eventually.
No. I'm talking about the fact that they even got it started. I do feel like eventually they just gonna be like, oh, this is now the Bend.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
We grew up in a plantation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They really tried to play that off. Like they're like, oh well, you know, plantations, that's just a farm. I was like,
exactly.
You didn't call
that to non-Blacks when I'm like, just because this doesn't offend you doesn't mean that it doesn't. Like I put that on Twitter today where I was like, so if I call your kid a bitch, you're offended. I'm not. You see my point? Like, yeah. I'm like, come on, man.
I always tell people that you know, just because they precaution something doesn't always take away what's being said. So a lot of people will say no disrespect before they're going to say something to disrespect you. Yeah. So, you know, just because you be like, no disrespect, but your mom's a bitch, that doesn't take away the fact that you just called my mom a bitch at all. You know
I'm going to take it a step further. Never in the history of the world has anybody said no disrespect and said something that actually wasn't disrespectful after. Like, anytime you say no disrespect, you know you're about to say something disrespectful. Like, it's like, oh, well, hold
That's the only reason why you're trying to precaution it.
It's the only reason.
There it is. I'm going to be like, no disrespect. You got beautiful eyes. Like, that's
you gotta start doing that. People would be weirded out. Like, I was expecting disrespect.
Yeah, like,
that's typically what happens.
That was it. So, I mean, you talk about wait, what part of Mo City are you from?
2234, in particular, Quail Green West to be exact. You know what I mean?
Quail Green West. And talk about growing up in Quail Green West and seeing people don't understand Mo City is different than Houston, and Mo City got its celebrity rappers. You know what I'm saying? Like, Mo City got people that Mo City artists. So you hear Mo City artists that were like, not only was I looking up to this artist, but I could see this artist. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, oh, such came by our school. I saw him at the store. So talk about growing up in Quail Green West and getting into hip hop.
So for me, I'm one of the few people that I think have lived in every area of Houston that you could possibly think of, but we settled in Missouri City at a time where it really was Missouri City. And then I got to see it evolve into the Mo. A lot of people think because you have nice homes and stuff like that, like, what is your beef? Why are you guys doing what you're doing and things of that nature? They don't understand that a lot of these things are trickle-down effects that happen, right? So for me, growing up in it, going to Mo City Middle, it was just a crash course in life in general. Mo City Middle, it just taught me so much so quick. It was a very, very quick adjustment because prior to that, funny enough, my peoples had moved to Sugarland for like a small little stint, and I was going to Highland Elementary for like my 5th grade year or whatever. So I'm, at a school, I'm the only Black person other than like 2 other people. And I'm pretty much having my way. You know what I mean? Like being that we are the only ones, we're looked at as the cool kids, you know. At the time, the NWO was popping, so they was calling me Hollywood after like Hollywood Hogan and shit. I had the Oakley shades. At that time, I was rocking a lot of silver, so I had the silver chains. You know, I was really running the spot. You know what I mean? And so, boom, you go from that to Mo City Middle, and everybody's cool. Everybody's dressing, and everybody's doing this, that, and the third. And it's just a real quick adjustment. And for me, it was just a real quick learning lesson of all of these different personalities. And I always tell people I've coined Missouri City or the Mo Houston's Harlem, because the same way they look at Harlem like Harlem World USA, that's the same way we look at the Mo versus Houston. So growing up, it was funny to me because, as you can see, we believe in dressing and all of that shit. We believe in being fly. But these same dudes that would believe in all of this dressing and being fly and all of this shit, they would like bust your fucking head. You know what I mean? So that was the thing too. It was a learning curve for that as well. Like shit, don't let you the smooth taste fool you, basically. You know? So just growing up in it, you learned a lot of that. And then by the time high school came around, in comes gangbanging, right? And all of a sudden, not just my neighborhood, but just the whole city in general turned into Little Cali. I always tell people just it almost felt like it was overnight. Just overnight, niggas that was once cool with each other and stuff like that, they plexed up now, they beefing because one's on one side, one's on the other side. And interesting enough, my neighborhood was actually deemed a Crip neighborhood, but a lot of my friends were Bloods. You know what I mean? Now, in one of my songs in particular, you know, I make mention of the fact that, you know, I was looking for a come up, but I never jumped down. My parents, I'll be 100% honest with you. They always raised me right. They always raised me to be a leader. So I wasn't a follower in any instance of my life. So when it came time for the gang banging and shit like that, I was one of the few people that had a lot of questions. And the questions that I had, they didn't really have no good answers for me. Like I was trying to understand how niggas, OGs could be 15 and 16. It just
No, no, you know what? That's a
it didn't make sense.
That's a good question because that's also a kind of a theme. The gang culture ran through Mo City. The gang culture ran through A-Leaf. And it was kind of interesting because you would see families where you had older brothers and sisters that were one way, and then younger brothers and sisters where they're like, nah, how was y'all raised in the same home? What did you ever get those questions answered? Like, what do you think how did the culture sweep through so quickly and take a hold so quickly here?
So what I will say is this: the music played a very, very huge part in this shit. At the time, Zero was through the fucking roof, and you know he was repping what he was repping. You know what I'm saying? They was blued up, and then you had the game come in, right? And the game was repping what he was repping, and he was taking the fuck off. And you had Wayne, you know, being influenced by Jimmy and them, and he got a red flag now. And so it spread like wildfire, man. I think the music was really like the engine for all of it to really continuously drive it through to the way that it penetrated through the whole city, man. Like not just the Mo, but Houston in general. Man. Yeah. It was really, really crazy to see. I lost a lot of homies like on real life shit. And for me, it was kind of weird because, like you said, a couple months back, some of these people was at each other's family reunions. A lot of these people was, you know what I'm saying, hanging out together, and then just all of a sudden, you know, it was some other shit. For me, I had homies on both sides. I just got grouped into one because most of my homies was one way. And just to keep it a buck with you, my favorite color actually is red. So niggas will see me in a lot of this, you know, color and just instantly like group me in because of who I was hanging with. You know, shout out to L Train, man. Me and him, we met in high school, the fucking first day of school, and we just instantly hit it off, like, you know what I'm saying, just as far as like music goes and shit like that. And I have to give him his flowers because if it were not for him, I don't even know if I would be as well abreast with Zero's catalog. When I got into high school, I barely even knew who the fuck Zero was. The only record that I heard was "I Hate You, Bitch," and I was judging him off that shit because I'm a super duper lyricist kind of guy. So "I Hate You, Bitch" didn't really show me what he could do. You know what I'm saying? So when you know, L Train is telling me this guy is the best thing since Tupac, I'm like, yo, you smoking fucking crack rocks. You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling him, that nigga might be all right, but he not fucking with my guy. He's not fucking with Hov. So what we ended up doing is, I'll never forget one weekend, man, he just gave me his whole discography. He gave me everything that Zero had ever did. I gave him everything that Hov ever did. And we just soaked up game like that whole weekend. And then Monday I came back and I just had this newly found respect for Zero. And he had a newly found respect for Jay-Z. And we've been brothers ever since.
Was there a particular song that you was like, okay, this one won me over?
Man, so look, it's a couple of them, but things like "I Found Me," to me, it was just undeniable.
That's my favorite song of all time. I understand.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? To hear somebody flipping like that, but like making sense in every single bar, I had to give it up, man. I had to.
And we've said on here plenty of times, like, I think we came to Houston hip hop late too, because we were listening to the East Coast. Like, we lived in San Antonio, we lived in Alaska. Our cousins were giving us albums.
Y'all lived in Alaska?
No, we lived in Alaska for a minute.
We'll talk later.
We lived in Alaska for a minute. That's why I can relate to you on the whole, like, cool. People, we was just up there and we was just black. So people was just like, oh, y'all black, y'all cool. We were just making shit up. Like, oh, what's the cool thing to do? This.
Hey.
Like, be like, all
Same
right.
here. They never knew some of those silver chains was really my mom's, and she worked for
I was like, hey, man, this was cool because we said it.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Our cousins were giving us albums, and our cousins were just like, they were heavy into the Far Side, Wu-Tang, like going back. So it was either like underground West Coast or underground East Coast. So when we was listening to Houston people, and they was like, oh, I'm like, I freestyle the best. And we was like, you do? Like,
hold on.
It took a second.
So you understand why they were saying that now, though, right? Because these guys were actually improv completely off the top of their heads. I will say this.
That's one of the other things that you just come to realize, because now it's kind of a running joke where they're like, yo, everybody in Houston freestyle. Because I said everybody in Houston, depending on what your definition is. I remember I was reading an article with Rakim, and he was like, freestyling ain't necessarily off the dome. It's just this style. I was like, okay, but if you're talking about off the dome freestyles, only Houston people really be doing it. Like, like, literally, it's like, nothing's made up. I'm gonna rap about whatever I see right now. And that takes a certain level of skill that was getting developed here a lot. Yeah. So what? You're listening to like you said, you're listening to Jay-Z, and you're listening to Jay-Z at a time when I know people love Jay-Z now. Jay-Z was not the dude at that time. Like, Jay-Z was just like, oh, Biggie died, so here you go. So, like, now,
I hate that narrative, but I get it.
I know, but I'm saying that's not the truth.
That's what people thought.
That's not the truth. But I was like, when he was coming out, I was like, no, Jay-Z can rap. Avery was telling me, like, yo, Jay-Z can rap. Like he really can.
Jay-Z's been I'm a day one.
Yeah, yeah. Like early.
I want to tattoo that because I was like, where did y'all come from?
Yeah. It was like that. People didn't hop on Jay-Z till I feel like volume 2. Then they was like, hey, that Jay-Z guy can rap. You're like,
for sure.
But what gets you into rapping?
So I think I've always been somewhat of a creative overall. I started in elementary school. I would always write these poems or long stories or short stories. And I also, one Christmas, my mom, she gifted me with a typewriter. And what I would do, I want to say I was around like 11, maybe 12 or something like that. What I would do is I would type up my albums, right? So these albums would have like the name of the album, the name of the song, and the features that I would have on it and the producers that I would have on it, right? Fantasy albums though.
Okay.
But being so young, I hadn't really connected the two just yet, right? So I remember one day I had pretty much almost developed like a file of all of these albums. And I was showing it to my big brother, you know what I'm saying? At the time, I had 3 older brothers, and then it was me. And then, of course, a few years later down the line, I got a little baby brother. But prior to that, I was the baby. So I'm coming to my big bro, and I'm showing him like, yo, I got these albums, woo, 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 right? So he take a look at them. He like, all right, that's cool. Where your lyrics at? And it was almost like a fucking, you know what I'm saying? You know how the DJ like record just, it was like that for me. Like he like ruined my whole shit. Like he blew my whole fucking head. I was like, oh shit. So he was like, yeah, he was like, these are good like blueprints or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But he was like, you gotta actually put words to these titles and stuff like that and develop this, right? So I then went through a phase of trying to do that, but more so I got into freestyling because it just almost felt like a rites of passage. You know what I mean? Like my brother, he would freestyle. My relative MacGyver, he would freestyle. And so I just kept working at it and working at it and working at it until finally I felt like I was at a place where I could rap with them. So when I was, I want to say around 12, I'll never forget this day. The reason why we call MacGyver is because this dude literally can do anything with anything, you know? He had just got a candy apple green Cadillac, right? And as you know, being from the South Side, South Seal for Live, you gotta treat your car a certain type of way. Your car get just as much love as your woman do. You know what I mean? So he went to going to work in on it and putting the sound in it and making it what it needed to be, so he could, you know, stack up next to some of them other slabs. And one of the things that he ended up doing is on some real life Pimp My Ride shit, but before Pimp My Ride, he ended up putting a karaoke machine in his lack. And this shit fucking blew our mind completely. We was like, what the fuck? How the fuck? This shit crazy. So R.I.P. Mussolini. Mussolini came over that night, and it was me, Mussolini, Mag, and my brother. You know what I'm saying? And we all got in the lack, and Dr. Dre's Chronic 2001 had just dropped, and then he dropped the extra CD with the instrumentals on it. Mm-hmm. So we just drove around Houston, bending corners left and right, freestyling to the Chronic 2001. And I want to say that was the day where I really got my shit together, because I never forget Mussolini. He just gave me some precious jewels that stuck with me from that day forth. He told me, he said, never fall off. There's no such thing as a fall off. If you fall off, you make your fall off a part of your scheme. And when he told me that, the rest was history. Niggas couldn't fuck with me from that day forth.
That's good advice.
Yeah, that really is.
A lot of rappers can learn from that advice. A lot of advice. No, you know what? Because it also is a thing. Like in rap, we do have this thing about falling off with age. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things where it's like, I just saw, I think you reposted it, where Freddie Gibbs was talking about rapping at his age. Like some girl was like, "Oh, why don't you get into jazz?" He's like, "I'm rapping the best I've ever rapped before." Yeah. Like
exactly.
Phil Collins, all them, like, you know, the Beatles.
They don't do that.
Everybody
they don't do that in
until they
other genres.
78. Yeah. But you know what? The other thing too is you look at they were hip hop is young.
Yeah, man.
We look at the death of DMX and they're like, yo, DMX is like, they were talking about D&Y for Rough Riders. Mm-hmm. And they were, who were they working for? The one of the pioneers of hip hop. Mm-hmm. Like it's like, yeah, that's the degree. It's a 1 degree separation between DMX and the first dude that's like, yo, let's do this. Like so that's the thing. We're a very, very young art form, and I'm hoping at this point people are recognizing like again, like I'm one of those people. Like Freddie Gibbs is almost unbeatable at this point. To me.
Yeah, very nice.
And he is 40 or whatever he is, you know. So as with growth, hopefully that mindset changes.
I definitely think it will. And from a Southern, or not even just a Southern, from a Houston standpoint, the jewels that he was giving me as far as a fall off goes was they would call falling off messing up within your rap. You know what I'm saying? So he was telling me there is no such thing as that. You know what I mean? Like you can fumble, you could do whatever the fuck you gotta do while you're rapping, but never let that shit stop you. And so that became a motto for me throughout life in all areas, but definitely from a rapping standpoint. So there is no such thing as a fall off to me. You know, if I'm falling off, I'm gonna actually mention like almost fell off. Hell no. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna run into whatever it is I'm doing. So yeah, man, I appreciate that, man. He was definitely one of my, I say, senseis. You know, him and MacGyver, they were so light years ahead of what people were considering Houston rap at that time. You know, they weren't the traditional, I'ma come down, I'ma ride foes. You know, they wasn't that. You know, Moosey, he was taking it so far. I'm so glad that he at least got to do records with Zero and stuff like that and really get a little bit of shine. But people don't know, man. And just in general, I got to mention the Chamber. The Chamber was, the Chamber was this group of elite MCs, man. Like if you were a rapper and you were in the mode, you had no choice but to go through the Chamber. The Chamber gave you a me, gave you a Wolf Day Michaels, gave you a Chill Isaac Yeoman. I mean, it ain't a person that's rapping in Houston, Rob Gillette. It ain't a person in Houston that hasn't gone to the Chamber and had to really show themselves, man. So shout out to Mag for that too, man.
So what specifically was the Chamber though?
So the Chamber was a crew and it was the studio. Funny story how it all came about. Man, I hate to tell this story sometime, man, because it still kind of make me upset. But basically, man, my father, He always was a guy structure. He was an HPD police officer, and he got into spirituality and Christianity, right? And so his son wanting to rap just didn't really sit well with him. Yeah. And one day he found my book of rhymes, and I was in that hole shooting niggas' mamas and slanging a whole bunch of dope and doing all kind of crazy shit in them bars, you know what I'm saying? So he ripped up my rhyme book, and he told me not only could I not rap no more, but I couldn't hang with, you know what I'm saying, the people that was into it. So he barred me from everything rap. He tried to, you know, break CDs or tapes if they were, you know, parental advisory, like just anything, man. And man, I gotta pause there real quick and jump to another quick story and then get back to that. Shout out to Devin the Dude. Devin, you probably don't know this, bro, but it's because of you that I ended up in church from Monday through Sunday. Devin, he had a verse on the Ghetto Boys album. It was a posse cut called Bring It On. Yeah. And he had this part in the song where he was like, smoking that weed, feeling fine, got me a 40 and a fat ass dime. So I said that one day, and my mom and dad heard me singing that. And so that ended up with me being in church like every fucking day, yeah. Like crazy. Like I'm talking about on up until high school. Like I missed a lot of high school football games and shit like that. It was real crazy. But all right, now back to the story. So boom, my dad rips up my shit, you know what I'm saying, break CDs, that whole spiel. And he basically told me like I couldn't fuck with the people that I was fucking with no more. So me and Mad, we went, I want to say like a year or maybe two without seeing each other, speaking to each other, anything, right? So I'm in high school now, new school, Thurgood Marshall. I'm in there and shit, I'm sharpening my blade, you know what I'm saying? Like once I'm there at the school, Pops ain't there, so he can't really control what's going on. So this is at the time where battle rap is at that point of anybody can get it and you pulling up on this. It ain't what it is now, you know what I'm saying? How grand it is. And niggas having months to get their schemes together and really putting on great performances. This is just improv. If a nigga see you, he could just run up on you. Like that's how me and C Green got cool. You know what I'm saying? C Green, he ran up on me in the club line. Boom, we just start trading daggers. You know what I mean? So I'm at the school making a name for myself because I'm bodying niggas. I'm gonna just be honest with you. I'm getting them out of here. So one day I'm on the bus on the way home and I'm rapping and shit like that. And my nigga Elton Spicer, he hearing what I'm doing, and he like, man, you know what, Doc? I need to bring you to the chamber like that. You know what I'm saying? So then he introduced me to my homeboy Big James, and Big James had a homeboy named Lil Zach. Lil Zach, just to keep it 1,000, me and Zach, we good now, but at the time I could tell Zach wasn't fucking with me because Zach was the embodiment of South Philly. I mean, he was slappy. He had the Southside fade. He had the starchy Archies. He had the Versace shades. Like Zach was through Houston. You feel me? So that shit that I was kicking, it wasn't I'ma come down. You know what I'm saying? So he wasn't fucking with that shit at all. He was like, who is this thing? You know what I'm saying? But Big James, he was the same way, but Big James had an ear to where he could still appreciate what it was I was doing and saying. So long story short, they was like, yeah, man, we need to bring you to the chamber. They kept mentioning the chamber. I'm like, the fuck is the chamber? Like, I didn't even know what the fuck it was. They like, yeah, man, we're gonna take you there. Matter of fact, stay on the bus. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, bet, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? I stay on the bus, get off at they stop. They take me to the chamber. Soon as the door open up, it's my fucking relative. You know what I'm saying? It's Mad. So we had this big, Yeah, we had this big embrace, you know what I'm saying? This big hug. And they like, how the fuck Mag know this nigga Vaughn? Like, we just meeting this nigga. Like, how you know this nigga? And he was like, nigga, this my motherfucking cousin. Woo, woo, woo. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was like, boom, we got reunited at that point. And from there, shit, it's been on ever since, man. But yeah, the chamber definitely, it was a studio and it was a crew.
Now, once you're at the chamber and like you've got a studio, like you're able to battle against people. When do you start getting the idea where you're like, okay, now I want to create albums?
All right, so at this point, I'm almost putting myself in a box, to be honest, at this point in time, because I got so good with the battling to where it was almost like that was the only thing that I was doing. I created my own website at that time. It was called Flame Flows, and it was a online forum for MCs to come and just rap against each other online. You know what I'm saying? But this was back in the old days, so this was almost like on some AOL chat type shit, but it was with your bars, but niggas would be typing. So niggas would be battling each other from all over the world on my website. And like I said, I kind of put myself in a box because once I got to the chamber, a lot of my raps were still battle raps. I really hadn't thought about none of those albums that I had created as a kid because I had perfected this craft of battling, right? So me and Chill, we end up trading bars or whatever, you know what I'm saying, on a very infamous CD from the chamber called Listen to This. Listen to This was spelled like DISS because the whole CD was just niggas beefing on it. You know what I'm saying? The niggas going at each other like that or whatever. And it wasn't until that shit really took off and got the type of love that it got to where I started to want to be at the chamber more and more and more. And then I started listening to what other people were doing in the chamber, and it didn't sound like mine as far as like content goes. And so I never forget, I was on my website one day and I was running some raps by some of the homies at that time that I had met through it from Brooklyn. And one of the dudes' name was Mac Million. He was like, yo, who you talking about in the rap? And I was like, I'm not talking about anybody. Like, it's just a rap. And he was like, yo, every rap you do sound like you battling somebody, sound like you dissing somebody, right? And so another aha moment, you know what I'm saying? That was another, like, damn, he just blew my mind. So from that point on, my focus stopped being the bars and all of that. And then I started working on song structure and melodies and hooks and just sharpening my sword like that to where I improved on that level. And then from there, I started going in the chamber and just stacking up material. And, you know, eventually it was enough to do my own project. Unfortunately, that project wouldn't actually come out because Mag was doing everything on tapes. And if anything happened to those tapes, like you would have to re-record shit. You know, you had to really one take everything. That's why when I go in the studios now, I don't be fucking around. I'm not the punch every line in guy. Like I'm the go in there, get that shit done, wrap that shit up, and we can get to the next one, or we can zone in and figure out what we want to do to improve on this and make it a full record. But I'm definitely not the nigga to sit in there and sip or smoke and invite all the women in. And nah, fuck that. This work time. It's not party time. That's how the chamber was. So that's just how I'm groomed. But yeah, it wasn't until that point that I started focusing in on actually making records and trying to put together an album and shit.
You know, they have artists that and I hope it's not a thing. I mean, you can have an artist like Cannabis that is definitely battle rap heavy, and you can have an artist like Nelly that's song structured, and you can have an artist that I feel fits Like when it works in between, you get like a Kendrick Lamar or somebody that can flip
Yeah,
it out. Like I know I can battle rap you, but I can also write a song.
Mhm.
What would you
exactly.
say? But what would you say was the most difficult thing about moving from the structure of battle rap into songwriting?
I'm gonna be honest, man. It was hooks. It was choruses.
Mm.
That was something very, very difficult for me because it seems like it's such a simple thing or easy thing to do, or it seems like such an insignificant part of the process, but it's actually the most important part. Most listeners they pick up on that before they pick up on anything else. You know, that's how you get records like Holla Holla by Ja Rule. You know,
Yeah.
like before you know any of those bars, you know, holla, holla, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just what you know first before you know anything else about the record. So for me, that was one of the most difficult things. Counting bars wasn't as easy as you would think it should be. And then another thing that plagued me on up until I want to say a few years ago, Adlibs. I was so bad at Adlib. Like I used to not even Adlib at all,
You really
right? And it wasn't until I got with my guy Relly that I started to understand the importance of a good Adlib. You know what I'm saying? And also shout out to the Migos. This was around the time that they
I
were,
was just gonna ask you about
yeah,
the Migos. Go
yeah.
ahead.
This was around the time where they were just coming up, and you know, they had some shit. You know, shout out to Waka too. Waka, you know, he might sound crazy on the playback before you hear it all together, but once you hear that thing all together, it's like this shit is going. So really would explain to me because Relly's an MC, you know what I'm saying? But Relly's also just an engineer and a producer and all of that at one. So Relly was able to understand how important that style of music was just as much as Nas was important, right? And so he would express to me that sometimes these ad libs they can add something extra to whatever it is you're trying to convey, you know. And from that point like on, I started trying to really get nice with ad libs, and now it's like real second nature to me and shit. I actually got a few signature ones and shit now, you know what I'm saying? But that shit wasn't easy. That shit was not easy at all, and sometimes I still hate it, to be
And
honest.
people do downplay creating choruses and like I said, like when you said ad libs, you think. I mean, I know Jeezy was doing ad libs heavy, Waka was doing ad libs heavy, but
Yeah,
the Migos have it to such a degree where
it's an art form.
yeah. I said
Yeah.
people are rapping their ad libs on some songs more than they're rapping the words. Like that's what they're waiting for, those ad libs. And there are certain points where I was like, the punch of those ad libs brings something to the song.
It's almost more important than what
Yeah.
the person is saying. So on Twitter, I did this thing where I wanted to highlight some of my favorite artists, and I was like, when you think of this artist, what quote do you say out loud, right? When it came to West Side Gun, it's almost like 20,000. It's almost 20,000 of them because no matter what he says, his ad libs they stand out, man,
Yeah.
and sometimes they can give you some extra legs on a record, man, for real, for real. Very important.
Absolutely. And really shape out what the song is going to be, and also shape out, I feel like, the personality of the artist.
Yeah, give
Like
you
you talk about like a West Side Gun, or you talk about like, you know what I'm saying? Once you really get to know a rapper, you really know they ad libs. Like
Yeah,
people will come on and just start saying their ad libs. They'll tweet out their ad libs. I think the last dude who we saw, Smoke, Larry June.
Yeah.
That everybody left that thing going, "Good job, Larry. Good job, Larry. Good job, Larry."
exactly,
Like everybody kept saying it
exactly.
to
You're
the
doing
point where
good.
I would say you just say it to yourself. You'd be like, "Good job, Devon." Like just
Yeah,
automatic. So yeah, the ad lib is important and it really fleshes out the character of that artist.
definitely.
Now you were talking about, like you said on Twitter, the highlights, and we were kind of talking about this earlier. Like you create music, but and I'll say it from the beginning, Ava and I always talked about putting together playlists. Like, because we were like, yo, in order to put together a good playlist, I said, I think it needs to be us because these rappers are going to flood their playlist with their own music because they can't get out the way of their own ego.
Yeah.
Now, putting together a playlist consistently to highlight what you're trying to do takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. And you've been putting out playlists that highlight yourself, but really have highlighted a lot of Houston artists. It's got a lot of discussions going up. You have a lot of stuff going on, like on Clubhouse, where people can just go back and forth and really sit up there and talk about music. And it's getting it. I always find it refreshing because it's like back when you were talking about your boy that was like, you know, you don't listen to Jay, here's Jay's catalog. You know what I'm saying? You don't listen because you'll see people talking like, I think I saw somebody that left one of your Clubhouse things and was like, Doug, I did not think the game was it. Like I didn't believe the game could fit at all. But now I actually sat and listened, and now it's different. What made you decide to start putting together playlists and making those structures and having those conversations?
So for me, it was actually just a natural progression. I'm an old school dude, man, to my core, you know. I was one of those people that was recording songs off the radio, and making sure no shout outs was in it and still doing my best to do segues and all of that in the tape era, right? And if I didn't have no blanks, taking my aunt's Keith Frank Zydeco and putting the paper in the top and making sure that I can record over it. Whatever I had to do to make my mixtapes, that's what I was going to do. So it just transitioned from that to making CDs. So in high school, you know, got to putting these CDs together. And if it wasn't me personally, it was me giving a list to my guy Brando. Shout out to Brando from Day in a Dream. Like we went to high school together as well. And it was just one of those things where I just always wanted music around and I always wanted to be involved in all aspects of it. So boom, I went from the tape to the CD to the MP3s, and then streaming came. And when streaming came and they had playlists, how it all started was shout out to Kels. You know what I'm saying? My homegirl, Kelsey. Kelsey had a radio show at All Real Radio. And for her first episode, she wanted to touch on what was going on at the time. And it's so weird that what was going on at that time is what's going on right now. You know, the injustice, police murdering black men left and right. That shit was going on at that time. And I think she tapped me for it because at that time, and even prior to that, a lot of my music was aimed in that direction. You know, I had records like Cop Killing and stuff like that way before it even got as out of hand as what it did in the media, because I kind of saw everything unfolding, and I saw with the start of the George Zimmerman thing, I knew from that day on that we were about to get into some other shit. It was gonna get real. So I think with all of that being known, she tagged me to put together a playlist for the show because the show was going to be based off of protest music. So that was my first ever playlist. And from there, it kind of created a monster because then what I did was I was like, man, I like the way that came together, and everybody that tuned in to the radio station, you know what I'm saying? Like they liked all the songs and stuff like that. And so what I then went about doing was I was like, man, you know what? I want to make this app the same way my Bible was, and what I call my Bible was my booklet of CDs. I had a booklet of CDs from like, anything from fucking the Isley Brothers and Sade to 400 Degrees and Tim's Bio. So I then went about making every style of playlist I could think of, because what I said to myself is, I want to make myself the radio. I want to never have to lean on the radio ever again, because I used to hate tuning in to the radio, and like, you get in your car and you hear this record, you get out, you run your errand, you get back in your car, and that same record is on again. That shit used to just burn me up. So I just went about fucking stacking, man, and I just thought about every situation that a person could ever be in, and I just started making these playlists, and it caught on, and from there, people started reaching out wanting personalized playlists, and now it's to the point where due to quarantine, I sat back, I had more time on my hands. So I got my hands on some little turntables. I started screwing and chopping the playlist. And it just led to a whole lot of good things for me, man. Shout out to Pug. Pug came to me and got a producer's playlist with all of his stuff. And how I treat all my playlists is I treat them like albums. So I make sure that they have a certain flow to them. It's not just 5 of the same thing or the same project in a row. Like, nah, it's like an intro. There's a body, there's a climax, there's a, down, point to it. Everything is really, really mapped out to the T. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what separates my playlist from a lot of other people's playlists.
Do you ever think about getting deeper into like the radio and DJ world? Because I feel like things are. You were talking about hating getting out your car and hearing the same thing, when you get back in, and that was because a lot of these, radio stations were consolidating. Now they've been destroyed because the internet. And I feel like there's so much. There's something good about seeing your playlist because there's so much music that's out there. I'm like, dog, thank God somebody put something together so I can just listen to it from start to finish, and then I can discover some stuff as opposed to me having to go do the work and find everything. So I feel like the radio DJ, for lack of a better word, are these curators and things like that are getting more and more important. DJs, I feel like, are becoming more and more important. Do you ever think about moving into that realm?
During like the quarantine, like I said, this was the first time I ever really got serious with it. In high school, every now and again, I would like screw and chop stuff for like ET, or like if one of the homies hit me and like wanted something in particular, they knew that I could just do it real quick. But it was never nothing that I was serious about until quarantine. And I saw how much people embrace screwed and chopped music, and well, not really screwed and chopped, not to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
I call it slowed and throwed. Like what I do personally is slowed and throwed, but I just saw how people embrace that culture, and it kind of tripped me out because when I did my first tape, the pandemic, I really was just doing that for like the rappers that was on it and the people that I knew that fuck with that style of music. And what I didn't know is that you had a whole other crop of people that were getting into this culture, and they might have been calling it something else. I won't mention what they were calling it, but it was basically the same thing. It was basically the same thing, and so those people, they basically tapped into what it was I was doing. And my rule of thumb in all of my tapes is that I will never slow and throw anything down if I don't feel like it was something that DJ Screw would actually touch. So that's the difference between, I guess, me and a lot of these other guys. When they slowing music down, they're just slowing whatever's popular down. But to me, what made a Screw tape so important was the fact that Screw was only touching things that he really fucked with and that he felt sound good like this. So I carried that into what I do.
Yeah,
but yeah, I've definitely thought about taking it a little bit more serious. Now, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, man. You know what made me take it serious? When that Cash App started going off, man. Like when people start paying you for something, it'll make you kind of be like, you know what, this thing is all right. You know what I'm saying? So
and
yeah,
I'm telling you too, I like what you're saying about like with DJ Screw, because it wasn't just popular music he was doing. Like I'm not gonna hear you did some tracks off of Galette's Tortoise Theory. And that's what I wanted to hear. Like I said, and I'm like, I like that because it's like this is stuff I listen to, but it's actually done in the way, and it's like it's actually chopped up. It's not just slowed down and put out there, like that kind of thing. So I was like, you definitely hit something. Like you hit a nerve on something. So it's there. People want to hear it.
Yeah, man. I got, homies in California hitting me up like, yo, it's been a minute, you know what I'm saying? Like, when the next Slow and Throw dropping, So it definitely has built up a little bit of a following. And I gotta apologize to him because there once was a time in quarantine where like I was giving them one every 2 weeks and shit like that. And now it's slowed up because now I'm back in MC mode and I'm putting out my own music, and then I'm also playlisting because Clubhouse app then took off, and I got involved in this organization called Music Melee, and I do all the playlists for every single battle that we do. And we do a battle every day from Monday through Thursday, every single day, a new battle. So my time to just like really sit there and like screw and chop music, it ain't as much there as what it once was. But I'm gonna definitely do one though, because there's a lot of good music out there that I do want to hear Slow and Throw.
Absolutely. And let's talk about let's talk about Music Melee. And let's talk about Music Melee and Clubhouse. So describe because a lot of people at first it felt like, does this come from verses where y'all saw verses and y'all wanted to do it, or is this just a battle? Because y'all's is an everyday thing. Like every day you could be like, oh, you could just go in and you can see that it's just back and forth, and the discussions, you can really see people's opinions on music. And in my eyes, it's been a while since we've seen that. Like people can literally get out there and say, and you get differing opinions. For a while, it felt like for years, it's like we all like this. We all hate this. We all like that. And now people in y'all's rooms are like, yo, I like this song. Everybody be like, nah, this song is trash. But other people can do explaining it. And it's like you sit up there and talk about it, and it really helps expose you to music. Like when we were kids and somebody would be like, nah, listen to this. Like, So tell us about Music Melee and what got you into that.
So basically how that all came about was prior to Versus, I was doing Versus playlists. Like I would put this person against this person and stuff like that. So I was already kind of into seeing these different entities coming together and like put their music up against each other. And then we had a funny moment on Twitter. Shout out to Green Villain. I gotta give him his flowers. He is very much so a prolific Swiss Beats hater. And so what happened was when Swiss and Just did they battle, there were a lot of theatrics, which in a battle is very typical. That's pretty standard, honestly, right? But Green got on Twitter and he was bashing Swiss like, yo, look at this nigga. Like, and he was really just making him look real extra. Like he posted it up when Swiss was like doing the beat with his chin, and you know what I'm saying? He was like, just beat his ass, like he's not even doing shit. So, I think, and I don't know if Swiss or or Tim or anybody in the camp would want to actually give him his flowers for this shit. But I want to say after that tweet went viral and it picked up steam, a couple of days after that, we saw Swiss and Timberland go at it again, and they did what would essentially be like the birth of verses.
Yeah.
And from there, they had a few good ones and stuff like that, but I would still be tapping into my own thing because even on their verses, I would still make their verses playlist, but then I would do and I got this from MTV. If you're a real old school head, MTV, they used to do like the Real World and they used to do the Road Rules. And then at the end of the season, they would do the shit they should have shown, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing the shit they should have played playlist. And so it would be like the versus shit, but it would be like, with what I felt that they should actually play. So fast forward a little bit from that, Clubhouse app comes about, and me and Green Villain, we're on the app, and another guy by the name of Simo, he's on the app, and Green Villain and Simo, they started like battling each other like every day, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day, and they would just be picking random artists that they would want to represent and things of that nature. And then a good childhood friend of Green's came into the fold, Billy. And Billy came in and he brought like a lot of structure to it and business savvy to it. And then we met other people while we was having these battles. Shout out to Nikki, shout out to Sharice. And then Mika, being Billy's wife, she came into the fold. And so we built this bond of just like people that love music and stuff like that. And over time, Billy came up with the name Music Melee. He was the first person to stamp it something. And then we went and, we did the paperwork for it. And Billy, being such the good dude he is, he made sure everybody was, involved in on it and made sure everybody had some ownership in that. And from there, we just went about putting more structure to it. And that's when we came up with the time slots, 8 o'clock, Monday through Thursday. And from there, we just started, pulling different people in. Different people wanted to come in and battle. And shout out to my guy, Taji. Taji came in, and Taji, he's such a music lover. And just some of everybody, man, and been in it. And now it didn't really it didn't grew, you know what I'm saying, to the point couple nights ago, man. Shout out to DJ Slowpoke from the Bay. We had an E40 versus Spice One battle, and E40 actually came in the room and sat there the whole battle and was giving us stories behind a lot of some of his best records and giving us a lot of game too. Anytime E40 get with you're gonna get some game. So he was giving up a lot of game, man, and fucking Baby Bash and Yuck Mouth and all of these different people started coming in the room, and like shit just been popping ever since, man. We done had Just Blaze come in the room before. We done had Knife Wonder come in rooms before. Bink, shout out to Bink, even though you fucked up one of my battles. Man, hey, I won't never forgive Bink for this shit, man. Bink came into one of my battles. It was the Jackson family versus the DeBarge family. Everybody was on the table, right? And so it was me going against my guy Beats Gordy from Detroit. And I was winning. And one record in particular beat another. I think it was Dance Machine going against one of the DeBarge's, beloved records or something like that. I don't remember which one it was, but Bink come in the room and he like, yo, what? Y'all pick Dancing Machine over that shit? He was like, yo, everybody in here retarded. You know what I'm saying? And so he just started going in on everybody in the room and shit like that. He was like, yo, when you in the club, they don't fucking drop Dancing Machine, nigga. They drop that shit. You know what I'm saying? So when he left, because this the fucked up part. He did all of that and then he left. So when he left, man, I couldn't fucking pay for a fucking vote. Nigga. I'm telling you, nigga, I'm breaking the glass, nigga. I'm playing Billie Jean. Yeah. I'm playing Dirty Diana. That shit ain't doing nothing, nigga. Yeah. So yeah, shout out to Bing. But yeah, man, you ruined my shit, man. And I told him this. He came in another one of our battles later, and I told him, I was like, yeah, man, you poisoned the room, man. But nah, it's all good though.
No, I really like the versus format. I like what y'all are doing with Music Melee because it just gets people talking and it gets people listening to music. Like really, really listening to music. I mean, you know, things is opening back up. Are y'all have plans to start doing things live?
We've talked about it because for those that don't know, because I might have not touched on exactly what it is, but it's basically a fantasy league versus, right? So you could pick whoever you wanted, whoever you deem to be your favorite artist. You could put them up against somebody, and then you got to develop a bag of songs. You know what I'm saying? We normally do 20 rounds. You come with your 20, I come with my 20, and we duel it out, you know? So as far as doing something live, now that things are opening back up, we definitely have talked about that because like I said, some of our people, like Nikki, she from the Bay, Sharice, she on the East Coast, Billy and Mika, they're in Dallas. So we even talked about like all coming together, man, and just really seeing what we could do with this Music Melee and maybe doing one live, man. So yeah, we definitely had those talks.
I mean, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Also, you were doing the Jackson 5?
Yeah.
And that means you had all of Michael's catalog. You were saving Michael's catalog for the end to kill it, and Bink messed you up. Now, did you win?
So look, this what happened, man. This what happened.
Because I was like, that should have been a win. That should have been a guarantee. You was like, I'm gonna kill him with Jackson 5, but I'm gonna end my last 10 songs gonna be Michael.
So look. Prior to the battle, me and Beats, we talked, and I let him know. You know what I'm saying? Being a man of honor, yo, I'm not going to hit you over the head with Thriller, and you know, because I could have just bodied it. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have, you know, fucking round one, dum, 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 dum. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have just ended shit real early. So once Bink did what he did, I could tell, even though me and Beats had that conversation, and another person to poison the room again, Green Villain. Green Villain was drunk that night, so Green comes in there and he's talking reckless. This nigga's talking to me greasy like we not homies and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like he like, and I bet not hear no motherfucking "Don't stop till you get enough, nigga." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this nigga's wilding on me and shit. So I'm like, yo, Green, relax. So all of this is going on, and I could tell, even though me and Beats had that conversation, you could kind of sense when like somebody not really feeling it. So I felt like niggas thought I was trying to like line them up. You feel me? And that ain't my steez. You know what I'm saying? Like I definitely wasn't. The only reason why I took the battle and the battle was because I felt that one, he being the style of battler he is a worthy opponent, but two, with that whole family being on the table, they are a worthy opponent. I mean, hip hop has lived off their samples. So, make a long story short, what ended up happening is we got all the way to the end and it was tied up. And when we have a tie situation, to have a tiebreaker, we do sudden death. And sudden death is just where, you know, you pick whatever you think is the best record. He picks whatever he think is the best record, and then y'all play him. So we flipped the coin. I lost the coin toss. He was like, "You go first." I went with "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough," and he played, I believe, "I Like It." And somehow, some way, man, "I Like It" ended up beat Michael.
Really?
Man. Yeah. So he won by 1 point. Yeah.
You're telling me that in a battle, the DeBarge family won over the Jackson family, which includes the greatest artist of all time, Michael Jackson.
Yeah, man. Like I said, man. Shout out to Bink. Bink did what he did, and yeah, man. I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't pay for a vote, bro. Like for real, for real. Like, and even after the battle, like Beats was saying, like, yo, some of that shit that I won with, like, he was like, yeah, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He was like, I definitely lucked up in that one. You know, so we actually got a rematch that we gonna do. We haven't really put a date on it because we just always have talks about it. But the next one will be those same families, but it'll be the hip hop samples.
Oh,
so,
because I'm about to say, I know the DeBarge family. They agree with the results. Like, I know they're saying, like, man, we've been better than the Jacksons.
Matter of fact,
the whole time.
One of the DeBarges, I forget which one it was, but he was like further down the line or whatever. He was in it.
That's what I'm saying.
A little bit.
First of all,
he was happy with the result.
That's not a surprise because people don't understand that the DeBarges are everywhere. Like I said, the DeBarges are a big family. Like, still intact.
They've been in my clubhouse room too. One of them that
they will pop up.
Catalog. Dude came in and he was like, "Yes, I'm a DeBarge," and I was like, "What? It's crazy."
Oh, they'll pop up. They'll pop up on you in a second. And the DeBarges are real. I feel like in a physical fight, the DeBarges would have beat the Jacksons. People.
I don't know. You know, the Jacksons are from Gary. You feel me? So you can never count them out.
First of all, you got to count out Mike. Mike can't fight. He had a mouse. Like, Mike out. He ain't fighting.
What does Janet do? Because at a point,
that's what I'm saying. You got to count out Mike. You got to count out Janet. I feel like the older brothers were tough and protected. The younger ones made them soft. I'm gonna tell you right now.
I think with Mike, like his feet work. Like, come on, B.
I'm gonna put money on the fact. I think all the DeBarges could fight because they had to. Like, you can't.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's only so many times you're gonna get called pretty. It's like, oh, ain't too much pretty's gonna be in here. Like, they fighting.
You're right. You're right on that one. You're right on that one. I think Mike might have been all right though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think with all those brothers and all that agility and footwork and speed, like, nah, man. I think he would be all right. But I do think, you know,
I feel like the DeBarges can fight just like every dude I know named Ashley can fight. Like, it's just It's just a given.
Yeah.
Like, anytime I meet Ashley, I don't care what he look like. I'm like, dog, this man will wax you. Like
all my life I has to fight.
I don't know. It might end up looking like the fight scene in Beat It between them. Just throwing that out there. I'm like, no, y'all are dancing. That's choreography. Y'all.
What was I about to say? I want to know. I mean, you remember Bad? I mean, Mike beat up Wesley Snipes, and I feel like Wesley was laughing like the whole time. Like, come on.
Okay, that's cool.
I know karate, dog. You know what? Now, off the playlist, before we get you out of here, let's talk about tell people about, and it's listed as a single, King's Special. Like, it's listed, but it's more like, I want to say, you want to call it like an EP. It's a 3-song collection, but tell us about that.
Yeah, it's an EP. And you know what? Just real quick. Earlier on, I heard you make mention of a project that I won't mention, but that's actually just a nigga running with my name.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? So that particular project is not this Javon. My discography, you know, it consists of.
It sounded totally different, but I was like, what?
Yeah. My discography it consists of something totally different. You know, fuck a title, fuck a freestyle, the mixtape, the project with Shano Fresh 2020.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, that EP. So that's more so my discography. And to bring it to today, the King Special, it is an EP. For whatever reason, when we submitted it, they, I guess, listed it as a single because for them, an EP has 4 or more songs, but that's not true. But anyway, so yeah, the King Special, man. Basically, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. How it came about was much like Chris Lighty said about Q-Tip. Remember, he said how he was like a perfectionist and he had to like snatch the album from him. Mm-hmm. I won't lie to you, man. I'm like that. Anybody that's ever worked with me and those that work with me closely, like George Young, Y Phoenix, really, like they know that I am not the MC that will just drop his shit and leave. Like, no. I'm gonna drop my shit and then we're gonna sit there and like I said earlier, we're gonna see what we can do to make this a song, you know? So the King Special came about because I was working on my album and my album, I ain't gonna lie to you, been like 2-3 years in the making. You know, we added tracks, took tracks off, put a different beat here. Like it's been so much to happen with this album. But most importantly for me was the marketing behind it, because now I feel that I have one of the greatest bodies of work that might ever come out of Houston. You know what I'm saying? And with that being said, I don't just want to throw that shit out there and it get a few flame emojis for my partners. You know what I mean? Like, I want this shit to really, really be received. So I've been trying to holler at a couple of different people. If anybody know Pud, I've been trying to holler at Pud. Hey Pud, get at me, man. You know what I'm saying? I've been trying to holler at him and make some things happen. Shout out to Loud. I like what they doing. I want to sit down with them and have a talk and just really see what we can do for that album. But basically out of that album came these extras that you know we had. And I don't even want to call them extras because the extras ended up actually going on the album too on some other shit. But then me and Y Phoenix, we just kept working basically. And through that, we had these tracks that we really didn't know exactly what we wanted to do, but we knew that we wanted to just go ahead and get something out there. Or so Y did. Y was like, it's time, my nigga. It's time to really just get something the fuck out there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the one that like, you know, kind of put it all together and was like, boom, okay. I know in Houston, what I love, you know what I'm saying, being a chicken connoisseur, ain't nothing like a good King Special, man, where you could just get them 3 pieces and you know what I'm saying, it don't cost you too much, it don't take you too long, but it's just as good as getting a campus or any of that other shit that's on that menu. You know what I'm saying? So
that's why I thought it was 3 songs, because it's 3 pieces in the King Special. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Exactly. So yeah, you know, for me, like I told y'all early on, man, it's got to be organic, and for me, it's just always got to make sense. I can't never just do some shit just to do it. So yeah, called it the King Special. It's a 3-piece, 3 tracks. And basically, Y came with one of the beats, and that was Denial. And it just sparked something, man. Like Denial, I hate to compare it to anything, but the reception that I've gotten is this is very DJ Premier-esque.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what it put me in the mind of. So for me, it was like, oh shit, this is my opportunity to like black out and get my Nas's like on or some shit like that, right? So I just really went to work on it. But I also wanted to have a record that's so good that you feel like it should have been longer. Like I purposely did that. So we blacked out on the verse, and then once that was done, I was like, I want to keep it the exact way how you had the beat that you sent to me. Like it's gonna stop short and all of that. So boom, we had that record, and just to describe it just a little bit, it's called the Nile, as in like the Nile River.
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about in the song is actually how a lot of the young artists can be in denial about their circumstances. You know what I mean? And it's really a forewarning to young artists as to just how to have your business right, how to go about certain things, and not sign that 360 and all of that shit, basically. Yeah. So that record got done, and then we were thinking about what would be the next one. And I remember being the old head, the nostalgia guy that I am. I remember the HBO, the original HBO thing. You know what I'm saying? From like, I think the 80s.
Yeah.
And
with the TV.
I always liked that beat. So I always wanted to do something to that. And so I sent it over to Y Phoenix, and at the time, Y Phoenix was doing these lo-fi tapes where like all his beats were sounding like real cassette tapes and warped. And so it was like when I sent that to him, he was like, "This is perfect because I'm already doing, this over here, So he did his lo-fi thing on it, sent it over, and it was sounding nuts. So then, boom, I blacked out on that, and I was like, all right, that's going to be the first track. You know what I'm saying? So then, boom, we had 1 and 2. And then for the third one, I told him, I said, this was my exact word. I said, yo, I want a beat that sounds like dirty needles on the ground and broken glass. And he was like, okay, that's dark. He was like, but bet, let me see what I can do. And like a day later, he sends me the beat that ended up being Corona. And when I tell you, it was exactly what I wanted, what I needed. It was exactly what I wanted and what I needed. And so, boom, that was the third track. We wanted to end it off that hard because it was basically warming the listener up for what they were finna get with the album. Because the album is more so in the vein of Denial and Corona than it is the first track.
Okay. So now I know people don't like to put dates on things, but when do you think the album is coming? And don't feel pressure to tell us a date, because I hate when rappers be like July 21st and then
Look, hey, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm no rookie, so no pressure here. It's coming soon, like Mike Jones was for 4 years, and whenever you get it, you get it. But real talk, man, is really on whoever, you know what I'm saying, sit down with me at the table and like really let's get this business right, man. Because this project for me, it can't be any old thing, man. It's that good, y'all. I ain't gonna hold you. I put so much into it. Y Phoenix, he put so much into it, and we can't just throw it out there, any kind of way. And for those that don't know, me and my guy Sam Seahorn, childhood friend of mine, we started our own shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he started Picture My Vision. He brought me in his infancy, and we brought Shano Fresh in, and we really got some shit popping for a little bit. But we always said we were going to eventually get distribution. That was always the goal. So for this one, yeah, man, we need that distribution, man. We need that real big boy shit behind it, man. Marketing plan the whole nine, man, because it's that fucking good. So it's coming soon, man. That's all I can say. It's coming soon.
All right. Well, I mean, before we get up out of here, like, let people know where they can find you, so on social media, and then particularly like in order to stream and find your music as well.
Okay. On social media, you can hit me on Twitter at Vonzilla. That's at VONZILLA. You can hit me on Instagram My music page is at Javon PMV. That's JAYVON PMV. You want to hit me on the personal page? I got OG Vonzilla. That's OGVONZILLA. And as far as any streaming services go, it's JAY space VON. In particular, like I said, the projects are gonna be Fuck a Title, which is an EP, Fuck a Freestyle 2, which is a mixtape with me and DJ Mosama. I got the project with me and Shino Fresh 2020 EP. And then we got the King Special with me and Y Phoenix. Y Phoenix did all 3 beats. And we got the next project. I don't even want to drop the title because you niggas like to bite a lot. But that shit coming, and it's produced by Y Phoenix as well. And me and my dog Saucerelli, we've been in the studio here and there. And sooner or later we're gonna do a me and Saucerelli project as well. So if you want any other playlists, you could definitely hit me up on Apple Music because that's like the core of it all. And yeah, it's just, Apple Music. You know what I'm saying, Javon. Also, the Screwed and Chopped ones that everybody seems to love so much. Yeah. Those are exclusively on Audiomack. Exclusively on Audiomack. So you could just go to Audiomack, type in DJ Javon, it's JY space VON, same way. And it's, a smorgasbord of fucking tapes over there. So yeah, check them out, man.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
That was awesome. Thank you once again for coming by.
No problem, man. Thank y'all, man. It's been long overdue. You know what I'm saying? I was just telling my wife, like, yo, they finally reached out. You know what I'm saying? Because I love what y'all do, man. Like, for real. Like I was telling y'all earlier, man, y'all interviewed some of, my great friends and, so many people that I've had in my life. So I was like, man, it was only right. It was only right.
It was gonna happen. Like, Javon reached out a long time ago.
Matter of fact, before y'all even had the podcast, I remember y'all were talking about possibly doing a podcast. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that would just be something. I was just telling you, like, yeah, that would just be something I would be interested in. Because I don't know if y'all remember our origin story was a podcast.
Really? We were on together?
Virtuality.
VRC. The funny thing was that VRC, the long running joke is that we're gonna have another episode. Like every time we're like, yeah, we're gonna do this one again. So yeah, man, nah.
That is crazy because you're really a day one because we have been talking a while but about everything else. But you've only you weren't even pushing. You was like, hey, I was like, yo, we will definitely do it. Yeah. One of the funny things too is, what was that? A couple of weeks ago, you was like, hey, is there any artists that you would want to represent on a versus? And I was like, I'm gonna embarrass them. I can't even.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
You know what though? Don't feel bad because we approach people different people because we want new people to constantly come in and see what it is. And so many people be like, yo, I don't know if I'm built to let people stone my musical opinion.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
That's the thing, because I'd be interested in too, but I feel like I'm gonna be mad if something I think is supposed to win. Like, it's gonna throw off my whole game. Like, really? This is what y'all? There's a part
you just gotta stay in it, man. You just gotta stay the course.
There's a part to the end. There's a line from Rick and Morty where the people are like booing him, and he goes, "I don't care about your boos because I heard what you cheer for." And I feel like that's what I feel like, dang, I don't care what y'all think. I heard what y'all like.
I like it.
Now you're gonna start a freestyle off with that.
Maybe.
Once again, y'all, we just had Javon with us on In My Humble Opinion podcast, where the words aren't jumbled and the opinions aren't really that humbled. You know, we really don't even have that many opinions. I'm a very nice guy, also known as Avery Zadius. It's been my brother Jess Devon, also known as Jess Devon, and also Dr. Douglas. Boom, there he is, right?
That's me.
Yes. And in my humble opinion podcast, you got to know if you want to be a part of the Humble Hive, you got to do two things. Well, really three. I'm sorry. Like, share, and subscribe. Humbly yours. In my humble opinion, H-Town's too sweet. H-Town's too sweet.